a dietitian and they've analysed your diet and your exercise. They've told you that in a 12 months time you're going to be dangerously overweight, really unhealthy. And the solution that they prescribe you is to buy some bigger pants. I'm at the Centenary Bridge at Jindalee, which currently carries about 85,000 vehicles a day. And by 2036, under current modelling, it'll carry 152,000 vehicles a day. Community consultation is now open on a project that will, in a manner of speaking, buy bigger pants. The Centenary Bridge crosses the Brisbane River to connect Victory Pocket to Jindalee. It was originally opened in 1964 as a two-lane bridge, as the Centenary suburbs were still being developed. In the Brisbane floods of 1974, a barge broke free and floated down the river and collided with the bridge up near Victory Pocket end. It got wedged underneath and they thought for a minute it was going to destroy the bridge itself. They sunk the barge and managed to free it. But the bridge was reduced to one lane for about 6 months while they tried to repair the damage. In 1987, the bridge was duplicated. You can see it just here. That's the join there. I think that strap might be the only thing that's still holding it up. In 2011, the Brisbane River flooded again, and this end of the bridge went under. In fact, where I'm standing, it would have been about another 5 or so metres over my head. Since the Centenary suburbs were founded in the 1960s, development has continued apace throughout the western suburbs, with new areas like Forest Lake, Springfield and Ripley growing. Combine that population growth with the Clem Jones and Wilbur Smith era of everything being about private cars, and you have today's problem with ever-increasing pressure on the road network. If you like what I do on this channel, feel free to hit like, subscribe and the bell, it helps me out. Centenary Bridge Upgrade Project plan is to duplicate this bridge, making it 6 lanes, up from the current 4 lanes on the Centenary motorway. And in addition to that, widen the current narrow shared path to a 5 metre wide segregated cycleway and pedestrian walkway. The new bridge will carry 3 northbound lanes of traffic, leaving from about where I'm standing, extending the Jindalee on-ramp across the bridge, at which point it will merge back into 2 lanes on the hill. Coming south, the old bridge will be reconfigured into 3 traffic lanes plus the active transport lane. The 2 lanes over the hill will split into 3 at the bridge, and the far left lane becomes the exit ramp towards Goggs Road at Jindalee, with the motorway remaining 2 lanes outbound until Sumners Road. As locals will tell you, and I am one, I drive and ride through here, the Jindalee on-ramp is a major source of frustration. Very short, and what happens is the general traffic on the motorway, they tailgate, they don't leave space to merge, people can't merge smoothly, and it causes a traffic jam that banks all the way back. And it holds up public transport too. So the bottleneck here would probably be stretching all the way back to Richlands at the moment. So the bridge project will extend these 3 lanes across the new bridge at the north and extend the on-ramp basically to the end of the bridge. So it will help this bottleneck a bit. The situation only gets worse when, as occurs sometimes twice or more a week, the tailgating traffic collide on the bridge, grinding traffic on the motorway and surrounding access roads to a halt. There's no doubt that lengthening this on-ramp with the new bridge will improve the problems of merging at this point, but with the 3 lanes to 2 merge at the other end of the bridge, the issues of tailgating, merging, colliding and traffic jams may well continue. Indeed, if the forecast doubling of traffic occurs by 2036, it will be much worse. There are some big improvements planned for active transport with this project. As mentioned earlier, this very narrow shared path will be widened to include a 3 metre wide cycleway and 2 metre wide pedestrian path. The usable width is only about 2 metres, and coming down the hill from Victory Pocket, cyclists go quite fast, so it's a bit hair-raising. Concept design even includes some barriers, hopefully it'll reduce the noise. The plan will also provide a new cycleway with similarly separated 3 metre and 2 metre wide sections for cyclists and pedestrians from the end of the bridge, around underneath and up to Cinnamon Road, replacing the current 3 metre wide cycleway. This is actually an upgrade because at the moment, at this point, it's bikes only, so technically pedestrians aren't even supposed to go through here. So they'll get a new footpath into the mix. Another thing I'd certainly like to see is an improvement to this link into the Jindalee Creek bikeway. It's a bit of an ordinary hairpin. I don't think there's any problem with making that a little bit smoother. The pathway towards Amazon's Place will also be widened up to this point. And Brisbane City Council has budget to extend it even further to Amazon's Place. It would be great to see Council and the State Government work together to provide a bike lane or bike path down this part of Cinnamon Road and connect the footpath, a little bike bridge across the creek joining up to the new bikeway. Avoids a rather hair-raising duck between cars to get in there when you're coming from this part of Jindalee. Quite a lot of bike commuters use Cinnamon Road to get to the Centenary Bikeway, and at the moment it's not ideal. With the widening of the active transport lanes, I think there's an opportunity to improve this intersection with the Spink Bay Street pathway. Spink Bay Street's a very steep local street, but it's an important local connection. At the moment, visibility up the hill is very poor, and cyclists come down this hill very fast. I'm really bad at speaking to camera. 150,000 cars a day means more pollution, more emissions, more crashes, more fatalities, more physical inactivity, more noise. Transport emissions are the second largest contributor to Australia's greenhouse gas emissions, and private cars make up more than half of that. Electricity is the largest contributor, so electric cars aren't the answer. The IPCC says it's code red for humanity. 1.5 degrees of global warming is almost inevitable, and with it more intense and frequent droughts, floods, fires and cyclones. We have to be cutting emissions today. The average occupancy of cars in Brisbane is less than 1.1. Almost half of all car trips in Brisbane are less than 6 kilometres and 16% are less than 2 kilometres. 2 kilometres is less than a 10-minute bike ride or a 20-minute walk. Therefore, most car trips are short in distance and only carrying one person. Car crashes are in the top 3 causes of death for people aged 1 to 44. 293 Queenslanders have died on the road in the past 12 months, and almost 40,000 people per year are hospitalised after car crashes nationwide. We have to stop encouraging the car to be the default transport option. If we're modelling an 80% increase in car trips by 2036 on this road, we have to do everything we can to prevent that happening. 152,000 vehicles per day means more pollution, more crashes, more deaths, more injuries, and more congestion. Nobody wants that. If we're going to solve the major problems like climate change and our congested cities, we need to embrace change, but we also need to accept that we have to change. This bridge upgrade is part of an ongoing planning study to upgrade the Centenary motorway corridor from Darra to Toowong, but we don't know what that looks like. The bridge is initially designed for 6 lanes, but it's capable of carrying 8. So the future plans for this corridor need to focus on things other than just cars. A mixed traffic lane can carry about 2,000 people per hour. Bus lanes can carry 9,000. Bus rapid transit lanes like the Brisbane Metro, 20,000. We really need to see a better solution here as the next step in the corridor, and more broadly, we need the State Government and Brisbane City Council to be prioritising shifting people out of cars if we're any hope of curbing our private transport emissions and freeing our community of car dependence. The current bridge can't support public transport properly, barely supports cycling and walking. The bridge duplication needs to happen. Yes, this bridge needs to be duplicated, but it has to be duplicated with a cleaner, greener, more holistic solution in mind. If they just make the Centenary motorway 6 or 8 lanes for cars, it'll be the Jevons paradox.
It basically states that the better you make something like a road, the more people will use it.
Isn't that a good thing?
No, it means you spend a lot of money now for a very short-term benefit.
So consultation's open now until the 19th of September. I'll leave links in the description. Make sure you get in, have your say yes to the active transport upgrades, and also ask them, what is their plan to reduce car use? Given this section of the project is really still leaving 2 lanes each way at each end, I can see why they didn't include busway or transit ways in this, because they wouldn't have had anywhere to go. Not much point doing it just for a stretch. But the future needs to consider that. Queensland Government just buying us bigger pants to solve our diet and exercise problem? Well, not necessarily. If you speak to locals, they'll tell you that the bridge won't solve anything on its own. And they're right. But then neither will simply making 6 or 8 lanes of general traffic. More lanes for cars just means more driving, more traffic. That'll make things worse. I'm pleased to see the improvements for walking and cycling that are part of this project. And hopefully we can sneak a few more through consultation and get some improvements at Centenary Road. $244 million might seem like a lot of money for an upgraded bikeway and shifting a bottleneck a few hundred metres. But it's pretty good value when you compare it to the $126 million being spent on replacing the Jindalee roundabout or the $650 million spent widening Kingsford Smith Drive. Infrastructure costs money, and while the business case for the bridge on its own isn't great, future projects can make up for that in spades, if they're not just general traffic lanes.
Well, for $300 billion, I guess we were hoping for something a little more dramatic.
2.5 minutes.
Call it 2.
You don't look happy.
We need future plans to reduce the proportion of private vehicle trips so we don't reach the disastrous levels predicted of 152,000 vehicles per day. We need a dedicated public transport focused solution on the Centenary motorway as soon as possible. But regardless of what form that takes, an upgraded bridge at the river is essential. It's a thumbs up from me, but with a qualification. What comes next just can't be bigger pants.